Good boy. Nice. Now, sit. Good. Good boy. Good. No. Good. Good. Good boy. Good. Nice. Good. Good. Another item. Good boy. Good.
This would be a good exercise for his owners to do.
Oh yeah. Because it's the novelty of something new that makes a foreign noise, and then he's spooked, right? I'm sure he's had some experiences in the past that had led up to this, because it's genetics plus experiences that give us the outcome. So he is a nervy guy, but then there had to have been something that happened before he came here that spooked him, and he has a belief now that I better run when I hear noises I don't.
And I think there's a really important window, like 8 to 10 weeks old, where they're really impressionable.
Yeah, in like the fear stages, 7 to 9 months, is a good time for you to start introducing your dog to things, because they're going to become spooky. They're going to need a process of learning how to check something new out. That's a little spooky to them and foreign. So a lot of it looks like spooking, and then jumping away from it, looking back, noticing it's not moving because it's probably an inanimate object, and then using curiosity to come back and sniff at it, and then realize that it's nothing, and then they feel fine around it. That has to happen a lot. If you don't bring your dog out, it doesn't happen. Your dog lives in a bubble for a couple of years, and then you bring them out and they're adults, and they're like, just overstimulation, overload. They don't understand the world around them. It's scary, right? Good. This guy's just that perfect storm of also having a temperament that's very sketchy, right? So it's like you really have to do work with a guy like this, otherwise they turn out like this, right? So we have a game plan going home with him too to help him to continue to grow past this, because I believe if we can combat this quite well, and that by the time he's a full grown adult, he won't look much different than an average dog if you do this right. I mean, this little exercise is just something that he kind of gave us the idea of, because he would literally be doing great, and then I would maybe have something in my hand, and then all of a sudden it's just terrified. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be this face mask, it could be a feather. He doesn't understand the world. So I'm showing him over and over again. Basically, what's happening is he gets spooked, and then you realize he overreacted. Spooked, I realize I overreacted. Spooked, over and over and over again, to the point where he starts to think, well, maybe I'm overreacting. You understand? Like, he hears it, and then he's got enough experience to say, oh, there's a process of checking things out. No. Right? This on top of me traveling out in the world with him and using the commands when I need to let him watch the world, and then also letting him go and roam about without being in a command, free to check things out, so that he can start to really learn what actually is dangerous and what's just a guy holding some baby puffs. Right?
I like how calm you are when you say no.
Yeah.
It's just...
The room's really chill.
Mm-hmm.
So if we,
And you don't get frantic. You just are like, no.
Good.
And it's matter of fact.
And then there's the good, which is just as powerful. You know, that's important too, for me to be able to say good and for him to actually feel relief is really great. That means when I mark things that I like, it's just as impactful as when I mark things I don't like. So we're able to work him through the problem, tell him what we like and what we don't like, and it actually works. Good. And he's got the shading with the sitting, and that's good sign because he's working through his problem. Good job.
It's the lack of running away.
Sit's the hardest right now. Yes, it is. It's fighting that fight or flight. But yeah, sit's probably the most difficult way to do this. Place would be easier, but that's why I'm using sit. Because we can't be out in the world and every little thing causes this 100-pound dog, or more, he's probably gonna end up being more than 100 pounds when he's full grown. Taking your arm off with it, just because like a car backfired, so he's gone. Or a leaf blew past him, you know, it's just like an elephant, like Julie said, scaring to a mouse. It's this little tiny thing, and they just destroy everything around them because they're trying to get away from it. Good, so what I'm teaching him is you hear the thing, just relax and watch the thing. And then also watch me, because I'll give you direction. So this is kind of like a little thing we're doing right before we go out to a gas station or somewhere where there's more scary sounds. Good. And we encourage the sniffing, so I'm gonna release him, see what he does. Break. Good boy. Good boy. Up. Behind me. Right? This is good to me. This is not a good problem that he has, but he's doing something he didn't do the other day. He's staying next to me. You know, like I move over here. He doesn't want to be around them, but he comes over to me anyway. I mean, he'd probably much rather be way over there, but he's staying with me, which means he's still following me, even though there's something scary. And that's the beginning. Still looks right now pretty bad because he's nervous of this, but what this is going to translate to is him staying in command, even though things are spooky. So if he's in a heel, when he hears that car backfire or something scary, he'll have that initial startle, and then his brain will remind him to go back into the heel. Okay? But you don't have to really worry about that. That's going to go away in time, because that's the state of mind that he's in right now, right? So you just repeat it. These are the things that he learns. Oh, okay. Right? So when a dog is on edge, some dogs live like this 24/7. This is, if a dog's reactive, that's dogs on a walk, they hear another dog, boom, that's it. It's the same, that's still reactivity. This is just more reflex. It's just like being spooked, right? Somebody comes up behind you, and Julie just did it to me in the arm, spooks you. You stop being spooked if it repeats itself over and over again. It's not dangerous. So he needs some of this experience. But this is a good video just to show you guys how bad of a disposition he has towards this. See what I mean? He has to go past the scary thing to comply to the command. Good boy. I mean, a floor full of scary things. Sit. It's gonna sit on that book. Sit. Break. Good boy. I'm gonna do a little bit more of this.
Good boy, Bane.
Sit. Good. Yeah, time is your friend with a dog like this. You give them experiences to bring them a little bit further, and then you let them go rest. Let them have time to have that experience and let them soak. And then the next day, you give them another experience or the next session. Until you start to get them where they need to be. Good. I'm gonna allow that. Good boy. New object. That's why. Good. That's the trigger. So this is kind of like how we would proof a dog anyway in the commands, except this looks really stripped down, like really, really far back. You'll see us, some dogs, they don't have this issue, and we can kick balls around and have dogs play first day of proofing, because their mind doesn't have this struggle. Because he does, it's the same exercise, but I'm really dialing back the intensity, and I'm really making it specific to his issue right now, right? To be honest with you, he's not going to struggle as much if it's Riggins playing with me than if it's an inanimate object that he's not familiar with for some reason. So check this out. This one's going to be a big issue because it makes noise and it's big and it's... So the idea here is he's going to get scared, and he has a choice to get scared and watch it and stay in my command, or to break the command and get corrected and ultimately be told to go back into the command. So he has to prioritize the command over top of his fear. Okay, and that's where we start making progress. Now, good. Good. So the only reason why this works is because the punishment of the correction for breaking has been firmer than anything any of these toys have actually done to him, right? They haven't touched him, but breaking the command results in physical correction. That's why it works. And then all that does is gives us the opportunity for him to watch things and see what's going on. Right? So if it's not working, you can try this at home, your dog keeps getting up, it's not listening, it's because your correction isn't firm enough for them to prioritize listening over top of fear. And the only time you can go that firm with the correction is if the dog already knows the e-collar, already knows the command, there's no confusion there. If you haven't trained properly and there's confusion with the e-collar and with the command, on top of spooking, it's a complete shit show. That's why we didn't do this on day one. Good. Good. Okay. Good boy. So that's the result we want. This thing's broken, by the way. Good boy. Now, down. So, now we're going to go a little more advanced. Now we're going to go to a double down. Good boy. And he can't even lift his head up now, okay? This is rehab, so it's not easy. It's not always pretty, and the reason why it's not pretty is because we have to push him to make progress today. So it has to be a little harder on him than it was yesterday, because yesterday it became easy. Now we need to continue to push him. The idea is that we get him to the point where he can go through a normal day and not go into fight or flight. There's no need to. I mean, there's no need to go into fight or flight right now. So that's the idea. We put him through these kind of extreme sounds, like walking by him with this. Eventually it's going to be even noisier, because the idea is he'll be able to even put up with that. If he can put up with this stuff, pots and pans banging, which we're going to get to, then if that becomes something he can deal with, then everyday triggers are going to be no problem, okay? So that's why we push it to this extreme. No. Good. Now, why the double down? Or why the down? It's the only way to have the conversation. It's the only way to keep the dog present, to sit here and watch what's happening. Very interesting, right?
I noticed some sniffing.
That's good. Good boy. So he's going to, in time, like this is kind of new. We haven't been putting this level of pressure on him up until this point. Now, we could never put this pressure on him last week. Now we can. Now we have to do this a lot in different situations so that he develops the coping skills. This gets very interesting. To feel comfortable in a spooky situation and to get over it and to know the process. And the interesting thing is the coping skills are the commands. They're what are helping him, okay? He knows that no matter what happens in whatever environment he's in, this is the message we're trying to give to him. If he's in a command, he can be rest assured that his leader's taking care of everything else and he can just sit there and watch. And our job is to make sure nothing actually happens to him. If I'm trying to actually tell him that to relax and ignore this, it's not gonna bother you, and then I push it into him, or I let something in the environment disturb him like that, that's not gonna work in your favor. With a dog like this, he won't trust you. So you really gotta step up. You know, if I put myself, you'll see it when we're out. I'll put him in a down when we're at the gas station or something, and I'm not gonna let anything fuck with him. Right? Another dog even comes close or anything, somebody tries to come up on him, or anything, I'm gonna make sure that he's left alone. That's my job. Is to keep these commands feeling safe. It's a trust fall in. Let's go bowling. Good. Okay, now, break. Let him free into the environment. It's also an environment he doesn't know very well, upstairs, so. Play with him a little bit. See how his walk is. That's a good boy. Proud of you. I am. Bounce him back quicker. That yawn's good. Alleviating stress. That's a good sign. If he shakes, good. We put so much work into the e-collar training. So if I give him a firmer correction while he's looking at something scary, his mind doesn't think it's a scary thing. His mind thinks, oops, I'm making an error in my command. Let me relax further. Right? That's the beauty. That's what's going to help us rehab this guy. You know? And that's, I don't even know if that's the proper term, because we're just dealing with an inexperienced dog that has some sketchy genetics. So, go boy, and he's going to get over and move on past all this once he gets the right skills.
Oh, Josh baby talking to dogs again.
That's I guess so.
He's gonna get over it.
Well, you know what's funny about that is it's kind of a tool for me.
Yeah.
You know, the tone. I don't want to, especially when they're in, you know, a space like this where they're on edge. If I'm, hey, good boy, good job, that tells him, that's an extra layer of information. It lets him know that I'm happy with what he's doing, right? If I go deeper, a little lower in tone, it tells him, I don't like what you're doing. And it doesn't even really matter the words. It does. You want to, obviously I got my words, but they go by tone. So, as well. So if I have a soft tone and I start coming towards him, he knows that I'm, you know, I'm coming over here to reward him, not to correct him. Good boy. Nothing worse than when you're trying to go over to a dog to give them a pet and they think that you're coming over to correct them and they start getting tense. You know, get those conversations cleared up. Good boy. That's why as soon as you do a thumbs up, and that's my silent way of saying good. Right? And they know that follows with a pat versus grabbing the leash and hopping. This is me proving to him. See the yawn? It's good. Now he's got to that point where he lifts his head up and he's looking and he's realizing nothing's really going to harm him. And this is now that I'm proving like this isn't going to hurt you.
Sniffing.
That's good. Good boy.
He's conflicted.
Yeah. Down. Good.
Curiosity mixed with fear.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then obviously I'm going to. You said it in the other video. We're not correcting fear. We're correcting the behavior that fear produces. right? Which is him to run away. If he's in his command, then he's breaking the command. It doesn't matter if he's breaking it because he's bored or if he's breaking it because he's afraid. He's still breaking it. And you can get a dog to prioritize staying in the command over the fear. And I know I've said that 1,000 times, but that's really what it is. So that he just gets to see it's just a chair. You know? It's not going to harm him.
You can see Riggins isn't concerned about the chair at all.
On top of this, when he has free time, he's gonna come check out the chair and sniff it at his own free will. And then just, you know, and you do this with 100 different things, it starts to become, he ends up having experience with learning about new things without going into fight or flight. And his judgment will be better, like, there might be a time when it's appropriate to go into fight or flight. He needs to know. It's not when I get up out of my chair, right? It's not when I grab the tissue box and walk past him. Seriously, that'll send him. He's learning, he's getting better judgment, but I have to spoon feed it to him. I have to sit here and like tell him things that you normally wouldn't have to tell a dog. So it's just time. And then he will have his limitations. Unfortunately, he's gonna have some limitations. But I'm trying to get them as little as possible. I'm trying to really find, all right, where are they? Let's find the edge. Let me see where I can bring them with the resources that we have. Oh boy. And I think with these skills, you know, the owners will have what they need. Good. You see that? And then he didn't get up. He's not even, he didn't lift himself up into a plank either. Good boy. This is what we're looking for. That little twitch, that's fine, that's okay. Just calm yourself down after that. Don't go looking for a way out. Good boy. Oh boy. So the way you can program the brain to say loud noise, relax, is we take the loud noise. You tell your dog to go into a double down. Down. This is how we're going to reprogram the brain. Okay? A little bit. We make the loud noise, the head comes up, we tap, the head goes down, good boy. This brings, like even when they go to do this little, what is it called, Joey?
Impulse jerky move.
Yeah, it's reflex. Impulse jerky move. Yeah, it's startle reflex. It's going to teach them that we want them to relax, so they'll know what we want, and it'll also hopefully start to make some improvements with their startling to be less and less and less. Okay. Good boy. The important part is the head goes up, we start clicking at a low number, reminding them to down, so we can have that conversation. Good boy, just like that. And over again, a bunch of different stuff, you know. This isn't something he's gonna have to do the rest of his life once he kind of gets to a certain level of confidence in the world. Good boy. Good boy. I'm gonna come over in the scary chair to give him a pat. Good boy. So this is what's interesting about him, and this is why it can be difficult to work on, because you need to keep introducing new things, because after right now, these things aren't going to be scary anymore, right? It's just when it's novel, it's new, and he doesn't know about it. He doesn't know anything about it. He wasn't expecting it. It sends him into a panicky state, and it takes him a while down the line. Good. You see us do this type of work all the time with nervous dogs, anxious dogs. What makes this guy so interesting is he's not like the typical anxious dog that we get in here who's just constantly just like vibrating, just constantly, it's just how they are. He's just, when there's something new in the environment, that's his trigger. Other than that, you can't really tell, you know? Good. What's gonna happen is eventually he's gonna lift his head up and put it back down without me even having to say anything. Good boy. And then we know he has an understanding of what's expected. Good. You can see the value in this. Now use your imagination. We're starting here, quiet room. These skills translate to out in the city, which is where we'll be going. And we'll be doing the same thing on a sidewalk, right? And then we just keep this type of structure in his life until, you know, he's not needing those training wheels anymore. He's gonna need them for a while. I would say we're looking at a year minimum, you know, because of his issues and his age. He's only 7 months. The next year is gonna be crucial to get right with him. Good. So he understands what that e-collar is asking him to do in his down. It's a beautiful thing, conversation to have. And these dogs get it, and I love it. I love that they can understand it. They use context, right? So in the context of being in a double down and then lifting your head up to a sound, if you feel this, it means to put your head back down. Good boy. His eyes went look, look, and then steady. Good boy. Okay, so we're playing the part of a behavioral practitioner. We're on the ground, we know our knowledge, we understand the theory, we understand the exercises to help us have the conversation, and now we go and we work and we go through a rep and we watch and we see how we need to alter, and we're just with the ultimate goal of teaching him how to cope with scary situations. That's what we need, and we will build confidence. See, the head went down. Good. That's the next step.
You didn't click?
I did not click. Wow. Good boy. So it's happening. It's getting there. We get it here. We start bringing him out in the world. Start seeing how bad is it out in the city. What if it's just the same as this? What if it doesn't matter if he's in a room that's quiet and something comes in, or in a city with 1,000 new things? What if it's the same intensity and it's dealt with the same way? Or what if the city's just a complete shit show and we need to gradually work our way there? We don't know. So stay tuned.